Happy Saturday night, everybody. Thank you for joining me on Hogville YouTube Live. I'm Kevin McPherson. Well, we were on earlier today and thought maybe I would wait until Sunday to do the next one. I just can't wait. I can't wait. This is based on future Hog, five-star future Hog, J.J. Andrews, Deshaun J.J. Andrews out of Little Rock Christian Academy, 6'7" wing. And the performances that he's been putting up, really going back to May through June and now July. And for a second consecutive season, J.J. Andrews has led Brad Bill Elite to the Nike Peach Jam Championship game. Last year it was on the 16 and under level, and he ended up being a catalyst, arguably the most valuable player on that team. He didn't get the MVP award. That went to Mika Miernan, a Hog target, also in the 2026 class, one of Arkansas's recruits. But JJ put up just outstanding performances when you look through the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then even in the championship game. And now we've got a similar path, but at the highest level. 17U Nike EYBL is the creme de la creme of the shoe circuits. 17U, the highest level. And once again, based on 2 wins today for Brad Bill Elite, led by J.J. Andrews, Brad Bill Elite's back again in the Peach Jam Championship, this time the 17U level. Tomorrow morning, we'll play the New York Wrens, the Renaissance 17U, for all the marbles. So J.J. Andrews has a chance to repeat back-to-back champion at Peach Jam with Brad Bill Elite, who's only won one ever Peach Jam. That was last year at the 16U level. So a chance to double that up and be the guy. He could be the man and he's playing at an MVP pace right now. He is the MVP of this team. He's the MVP of this tournament to this point. And so now tomorrow we'll see what happens. I didn't want to wait and do something after tomorrow's game because I wanted to go through some stuff tonight, get some stuff out of the way because, you think about J.J. Andrews, he's a 2-time 4A state champion in Arkansas. When you look at back-to-back titles in his freshman and sophomore season, he was the MVP of that championship run in his sophomore season. Didn't win a title last year. Little Rock Christian moved up from 4A to 5A. They did make the state tournament, lost to Benton, the eventual state champs in the state tournament for 5A. But he'll have Little Rock Christian, gunning for a state title for his 3rd in 4 years. But right now he's got unfinished business looking to add a second title. So he's a 3-time titleist when you add up high school and Peach Jam, a chance to make it for tomorrow. And what a run for J.J. Andrews. We've been talking about how forever it's been a crime that he wasn't a consensus 5-star. ESPN did the right thing, brought him back inside the top 15 rankings recently, up to 12, got his 5th star back there. 247 Sports has him ranked 13th, the highest rated 4-star, right? Just 1 spot away from being a 5-star. And then we say this all the time, we laugh about it. Until On3 and Rivals makes its next update, it's just stuck with that glaring 40th ranking, the number 40 slot, a 4-star for J.J. Andrews. It's a crying shame. This guy's got a destiny for the McDonald's All-American game, the Nike Hoop Summit, Jordan Brand Classic, those kind of events after his senior season next spring. But right now, man, the guy's just been on a tear. Let's look at these games. Quarterfinals win, blowout win, 91-59 over Team Durant. J.J. led the way with 25 points, 8 of 16 from the field, 9 of 13 at the free throw line. So his game right now, the 25 points, he also had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal, a box score plus 31, and that crushing win in the quarterfinals. And what you're seeing more and more of JJ is he was so efficient in May and even in some of the events that he took part in June. And part of that shooting efficiency was low volume, but nonetheless an improvement in his 3-point shooting, especially catch and shoot. He's not a guy that's out there trying to take a ton of threes, and he's not trying to get into a bunch of dribble shot creation from behind the arc. Just taking what the defense gives and making smart plays, making smart choices when he takes those shots. He's just wrapped up with 2 wins today. We just went through the first one in the quarterfinals. He's wrapped up now 11 games in the last 10 days, getting to this point where he's playing for a title tomorrow. But when you go back to last week, the first July live eval period, now we're in the second one, in the final one of the whole kit and caboodle spring and summer circuit events. He has continued to keep his volume low on 3-point shooting. He just hasn't made very many. So one thing I like about JJ, he plays to his strengths. He's going to continue to work on that 3-point shot. He's been, if you add up everything, he's been better shooting from three, just not lately. And part of that, I think, is fatigue, especially as you get through these games playing 31 out of the 32 minutes just about every game, because there's no bench for Bradville Elite. They've basically had injuries, and they're down to 6 or 7 guys they're heavily relying on, yet they're still this effective, and JJ's playing more minutes than anybody in the field right now. So we're not going to pick on him for the 3-point shooting, but you look at him statistically, still shot 50% from the field in that 25-point outburst. And he just proved again, between that game and the semifinals tonight, I went ahead and released my top 25 for the class of 2026. Now, I'm on the road. I see these players at these shoe circuit events quite often, spanning the last several years, so I'm familiar with all of them. And some of them I catch and get to watch at some of these big high school tournaments, like the King Cotton Holiday Classic. So I've seen just about every one of these top 25 that I ranked in person. The ones I haven't, I've seen a lot in the live stream stuff. But when you add it all up, I get to see these players quite a bit. So I'm confident when I put a rankings out, but I went ahead and started with the top 10 of my top 25. I did a top 10 first. A bit later, I released the next group to get it to a top 25. But in that top 10, I mean, I'm beyond JJ Andrews being just a 5-star, and everybody needs to recognize that. I've been saying he's a top 10 player. I'm past that now. I mean, he's proven over and over again. I got him 4th. I did a top 10. I got Tyron Stokes still at number 1. Most services have him there. That's where I have him. I've said that. I haven't shied away from that. Jordan Smith Jr. in some services ranked 2nd or 3rd, depends on the service. Caleb Holt, who I've said top 5, 6 in that range, probably should be a little higher than that based on my evaluations. So I've got Jordan Smith Jr. and Caleb Holt both. I've got it as a tie. They're both. I've got number 2 here on my list, and the reason I did that was I think Jordan Smith Jr. is the best two-way player in the country, offense, defense, but especially when you look at him defensively and all the things he does to impact winning, similar to JJ Andrews, but even a better defender, but different position. He obviously is a combo guard. But Caleb Holt, to me, has shown more and more that he can play on the ball and run your offense. He's a better offensive player than Jordan Smith Jr., and he's a better defensive player than I even realized. I started to really notice it back in May on the Adidas circuit and games I attended in person. Watching him on the live streams at World Cup U19 over in Switzerland. This guy's just, and look at all the things he's done. I mean, he's just been incredible. MVP of the Adidas Euro Camp this summer, led his team, 17U Game Elite, to the Adidas 3SSB Championships a week ago. So I've got those two guys, after Tyron Stokes, number 1, I've got Jordan Smith Jr. and Caleb Holt effectively in a tie. I can make a case for either as the second best player in the country, and on some days, maybe the best player out there, depending upon exactly what you need. But I got JJ Andrews next. I got JJ Andrews 4th. And then I went with Brandon McCoy Jr., who Arkansas and Calipari continue to prioritize, the 6'5" combo guard. Great athlete, tremendous slasher, no slouch defensively either. He's got elite potential, a plus defender with elite potential on that side of the ball. Out of St. John Bosco, out of Los Angeles. I've got him 5th. I've got Arkansas target 7-1 center. We're going to bring you some intel here in this segment. I've got him 6th on the list. I bump him up. 247 Sports has him ranked the number 1 center in the country. Erfan Diane. They've got him as the 15th overall prospect, a 4-star. ESPN has recently moved him into the top 25. But I've got Erfan Diane at number 6, 7'1", 285. Just everything that he does at that size. Really good footwork, a big motor, a guy that moves that big body up and down the court. Arkansas's coaching staff loves the fact that he's so mobile, and that's not even counting all the skill level stuff. I mean, he finishes above the rim with power. He's got a nice drop step, can go over his left or right shoulder in the paint with low post work. He's got a face-up game. He can knock down some three-pointers. He's a good passer. And this is a guy that is blowing up. He is blown up here in July. And, a lot of teams really on him. Kentucky, the most recent public offer that's gone out. UConn's really after him. Arkansas is as well. Again, the intel, we keep giving it to you. We've got more as we've firmed up at least a tentative schedule date. I'll explain why they're using that word. And we'll go through a little bit more than we did even earlier today when we talked about him and the fact that Arkansas continues to prioritize Erfan Diane. seventh ranked Jason Crow Jr., the best scorer. This dude's a torch, man. The easily the best scorer in the class of 2026. Doesn't matter the circuit. He's a 30 piece on the Nike circuit just about every night out. Just recently, yesterday, committed to Missouri. You don't necessarily get a whole lot more from him. And at 6'3", they're looking at him as a lead guard, and I don't know how that's going to work just yet. I see him as a 2, and then the other thing is defensively and some of the other stuff. For him, it's really you're just looking at that bucket and the ability to score. I haven't seen enough from him in other areas to have him a little higher. He's rated a little higher when you look at, for example, I think ESPN has him 4th. I've got him 7th. Dylan Mingo, a big lead guard, combo guard that's really performed well, really started to show out in the spring. I've got him in 8th. Cameron Williams, a big 6'11" power forward, and who's just an outstanding talent. With names we haven't really talked about because they haven't been on Arkansas's radar. Crow is Josh Christopher. He's a different. I compare him to Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, bigger, stronger, not as good a three-point shooter, but the similarities are you just kind of give them the ball and get out of the way, and then you hope they give you something else. They're not strong defenders. They don't really move the ball all that well. I mean, Crow has a better, I think, an opportunity to be a better high-volume scoring lead guard than a guy like Cam Thomas that did, but that's still proving the pudding, but the comparison you made is not terrible. So I had Cameron Williams at 9th. I have another tie at 10th. I think Christian Collins, in my view, even though he's a long, really light on his feet, gets up and down the floor, runs the floor so well, has been ranked top 3 by most of the services, really has kind of been up and down and kind of off through most of Pete's Jam, but he did get Team Why Not to the semis tonight in a thrilling loss to Brad Bill. I'm going to get to the second game with J.J. Andrews. The reason I'm going through the top 10 after talking about his quarterfinals performance is because that's when I put the top 10 out, was after that performance as a lead up to what he did tonight. And so I'm going to go through what he did tonight to deliver his team to another Peach Jam title game. But at 10, I have Christian Collins. I've got him lower right now. And so he's a guy that talent-wise could be higher than that as a 6'8", 3-4 combo. I've got him tied with Mika Miernan, who's done nothing spring, summer, nothing circuit-wise, playing in some off events here and there. Spent a lot of time back at home in Finland. The 6'10", 6'11 combo 4 that Arkansas continues to prioritize took an official visit to Arkansas back in September of last year. So that's my top 10. It's really, I guess, a top 11. Just outside of that, number 12, I'll just share this with you. Tay Kenny, the 6'2 guard out of Kentucky, overtime elite, that's going to officially visit Arkansas September 26th through 28th. If you look at most of the recruiting services, he's anywhere ranked from 11th to 17th, somewhere in there. I've got him at 12th, at 12th best player in this class. So you saw the list I have, multiple players that Calipari has prioritized, targeted, and then we'll see where it goes, and we'll talk more specifically about intel in the next couple of episodes that I do, either probably starting tomorrow. I'll probably come back on live after the Peach Jam Championship, and we're talking about J.J. Andrews as a champion again, and we'll go through some more details on some of the recruitment of some of these guys. But I put that top 10 out in between quarterfinals and semis today, and I'm like, okay, J.J., prove me right. Come in and prove me right. He did not have his best game tonight. He did not have his best game, and I think when he looked at Brad Bill Elite, again, they're really down to a skeleton crew. And when you play that many games and you don't have the depth that some of these other teams had, it showed tonight, I thought, at the free throw line, especially for the team and for JJ, and giving up offensive rebounds. This is an area where Brad Bill Elite's been pretty good and holding their own, and they were almost doubled up in the offensive rebounding game, and they almost lost this game. I really think that while Team Why Not, including Christian College on that team again, while Team Why Not may individually have guys that are as good as most of the players as Brad Bill, I thought Brad Bill as a team is a better team. But again, sometimes you lose games as the better team because of fatigue and stuff you're just not taking care of. And that was the case tonight. 69-68, J.J. Andrews gets the game-winning points. On a night when he went to the free throw line with 20 seconds to play He was 4 of 9 at the free throw line up to that point. He had not strung together back-to-back made free throws on a 2 free throw attempt trip all night long. And he basically was money. I mean, it was Swiss City on his free throws. The team trailing by a point, 68-67. He knocks down both free throws with 20 seconds left. Those were not only the go-ahead points, they ended up being the game-winning points because after crossing midcourt, Team Why Not took a timeout with just under 10 seconds to go. Inbound the ball, attacked the basket, ended up coming up short. So Bradville Elite needed to get one defensive stop there at the end of the game, got that, ended up securing the win. So J.J. Andrews, only 4 points in the first half. He's had huge second halves. And this was the case again, finished with 16 points, so 12 points in the second half. It seemed like this game was back and forth. Each team would grab a lead, 1 or 2 possessions. The other team would come back and grab a 1 or 2 possession lead. JJ had some big buckets in that stretch to make sure his team was still in it. But some of the free throw line trips he got, he wasn't cashing in. Again, he was 4 of 9, stepping up to the line at the end of the game and hits the 2 game winners. And when the dust settled, he was 5 of 8 from the field, so he was efficient. But it reminded me of the 2 games ago before they got into the championship bracket, their last game before yesterday, before championship bracket play, and they were worn out. It was their second game of the day, and JJ 10 points, only took 7 field goal attempts, 3 of 7. So another very efficient game for him in terms of taking shots, 5 of 8, 6 of 11 at the free throw line. So he ends up better than 50%. After being a shade under it at 4 of 9, he ends up 6 of 11 after making those 2 big ones. 3 rebounds, 3 assists in 31 minutes. You usually see JJ get at least 6 or 7 boards. Sometimes he gets these double doubles. I just thought his activity was just a little down tonight. But this was a grind game, and he made enough big plays, especially those big free throws. And this is why he solidified for me. He solidified for me why he belongs not only in the top 10, I think he's a top 5 player. There's different criteria that go into this. Some of these rankings, they're really trying to project ahead to guys that are even easy to look at and say, okay, that guy's going to be a first-round projection in a year's time as a one and done. And I'm not saying J.J. Andrews can't be that, but there's not a superpower with him that translates as into this modern NBA that you look at it right now and go, oh, gosh, he's a surefire first round pick in a year's time as a one and done. He may end up being that. But so if that's part of your criteria, I can understand why some might have him, in the 10 to 15 range. I look at it as a bigger picture than that. The immediate impact on the college level, the impact on winning, and the fact that he is on a trajectory for me of being an NBA player and a potential one and done first rounder. So that's all on the table for him in a reasonable kind of path. Not well, sure, you could throw that statement out about anybody and then we'll see what happens. No, there's a viable path for all of those things to be an all-league kind of guy as a true freshman at Arkansas. One of those players that's hard to take off the court. He committed back in May. I've got him in the top 5 right now. I believe that firmly. That's not a homer team. What else does he have to do? He took on number 1 Tyron Stokes and outplayed him. A guy that's got his kind of size, physicality, and bully ball qualities. The number 1 player in the country outweighs him by 20 pounds. Tyron Stokes outweighs JJ. And JJ was the better player. It had a monster second half in that game. 18 second half points. Just, what was that, yesterday, day before? I mean, it seems like forever. But it, with all these games they're playing, but it just happened. 24 points, 10 rebounds in that game, 18 again in the second half, and was efficient in that game. So I look at what else does J.J. Andrews have to do to prove himself at this level, that not only is he worthy of 5-star status, not only is he worthy of being in the top 10, man, he's a top 5 player in my opinion now. And that's where it is. Win or lose tomorrow, I'm not backing off of that. I mean, he could have a stinker of a game tomorrow. I don't expect that's going to happen, but even if it does, I do not back off of this. The body of work is too strong for one game to affect that. And it certainly can only be trumpeted even louder if he has a strong game and helps deliver a title, or a strong game and maybe even if they don't come out on the short end of the stick, if he has a strong game. And either way, you're either adding icing to the cake, but you're not imploding the cake if it doesn't go as planned just based on one game tomorrow. Again, Bradville Elite 17U versus New York Renaissance 17U, and that'll be a morning game on NBA TV. Proper. They've been NBA TV's been live streaming most of these games, and this will be on the actual broadcast network, NBA TV. So I hope you have that. Yeah, and I mean JJ's an Arkansas legacy. I've mentioned George Smith Jr. is the best two-way player in the country. I think JJ Andrews is probably the best two-way player at his position and one of the best in the country. He's got areas he can improve defensively, but he's tough. He's physical. I've been comparing him. What I've been calling his game now is slash, clash, and cash, because he uses a nice little nifty crossover. He can go left or right. He's a lefty, but he can go left or right, driving to the basket. And then when the contact comes, because it's inevitable, that little clash of bodies, I'd said this, he doesn't get deterred and he doesn't get detoured either. His path continues to where he wants to be. Now, sometimes when he doesn't get all the way, when he gets to the basket, he's got a nice little finish glass work that he does. Sometimes when he doesn't quite have the angle he wants, I think he could improve as a ball fake off his pivot using pump fakes. He could use his pivot foot and get a little bit wider, or turn different directions off his pivot and use some ball fakes again. Sometimes to get cleaner looks. There's areas he can improve. But his slash, clash, and cash game is as good as there is in the high school ranks. And again, he's minimizing the perimeter stuff. He's got a nice mid-range game, that lefty shot. He just hadn't had to take a ton of those, or not bailing out and taking a ton of threes. He's working his way to the basket. He knows how to do it, and he's either going to get fouled and go shoot free throws. He's been a better than 70% free throw shooter on the circuit. So he's had a couple of off games. He had one a few nights ago, and I think he was below 50%. So he's had a couple of off games, but to redeem himself the way he did and knock down those money shots, I mean, that's clutch, man. It just adds to this idea that this guy's a top 5 guy. You don't have to have your best game to go make the best plays at the end to win a game that you could lose, and that's the kind of things he does, and he did it again. I remember that close game in the title game last year at Peach Jam. He's diving on the floor for 50-50 balls, making the right pass in transition, finishing himself in transition, all these cluster plays at the end of a tight game. And I think, if I remember correctly, the 16U Bradville Elite closed the tie. It was a tie game. They closed on a 7-0 run. And J.J. Andrews in the mix of that run and making that happen, helping make that happen, a catalyst. So these are the kind of things he keeps putting the resume together. For me, it's undeniable. Again, I've got him in the top 5 in the country at this point for class of 2026. All right, let's just jump really quickly. So we wish J.J. Andrews the best of luck tomorrow. Again, he's got a chance to add a 4th title to his resume. National title, when you think of Nike EYBL circuit as the top circuit among all the shoe circuits, and it's a national field. You look at state titles, he's got 2 of those here in Arkansas. So 1 with Bradville Elite 16U, 2 in the state as a freshman and sophomore. Now he's looking to tip off his senior season. What a way to start that, by getting another national title at the highest level, 17U of Nike EYBL Peach Jam. That goes down tomorrow. All right, let's move on back to Arafan Diani. We've given you a ton of source info, intel. There's new intel again today. I spoke with his guardian this evening, and he said that he said, first of all, they've tentatively set their official visit to Arkansas for the weekend of August 29th to the 31st. So the football Hogs open up their season at home at Reynolds Razorback Stadium on Saturday, August 30th. So the middle day of that weekend, right? Friday through Sunday. Saturday, August 30th, they're going to host Alabama A&M, first game of the season. His guardian said, yeah, the itinerary is set for him to attend a basketball practice, then head over and go to that football game on that Saturday, the 30th of August. And the football game right now, the schedule, when I looked at it, says that it's set to kick off at 3:15 p.m. Central Time. So practice will be early that day, and then he'll get a chance to go to that game. The reason the Guardian framed this as tentative is they're not ready to put out what any of his visits publicly in terms of, on social media, Twitter, that kind of thing. They're not ready to do that yet. And one of the things they're going to do at Iowa United Prep, which is where Arafan plays, where Calipari was on that campus last year to see him during his junior season. One of the reasons they're kind of they're being cautious about putting out their visit dates is, if you remember, early September this past recruiting cycle, I think it was September 4th, is when you went from a quiet period into a full blown recruiting period in the NCAA, where coaches can go on campuses, go do in-home visits, in addition to players coming on to your campus to take visits. It just opens wide up, and then you got coaches going all over the country, and we're tracking that stuff, right? And so Iowa United Prep is going to have one of those mega team coach days once that live recruiting period opens back up in early September. So they're going to have a ton of Division I head coaches. I assume Calipari will be back out there for that. And they're going to wait to put out their official visits list until they've had a lot of coaches come out, maybe consider some other teams and things like that. But when I brought up the fact, okay, while that's true, you're also, if you're planning this visit, it'll happen before that, right? Because it's the end of August. He goes, yeah. So we may wait kind of till the week of before we start splashing social media about that Arkansas visit. But he gave me the information. I told him I would phrase it as tentative based on the way he described that. But that's the visit date. Now, we also know that things change in recruiting. We've seen our players set visits. It goes public beyond what we're doing today. Players tweeting it out, some of the national guys tweeting out visit lists, and then those things change. Players, it's not that they necessarily skip visits. Sometimes they do, but they reschedule them. Things get moved around. We always leave the disclaimer that that's possible here, but they've pinpointed that date for his visit. Remember, Tay Kenny's coming in late September. The 26th to the 28th, Arkansas is hosting Notre Dame in football that weekend. So we'll see if Deanne gets moved. But tentative isn't as much about their thought process that it might get moved, more about the timing and how they want to release stuff. And so that's how he framed it. And when I asked him to clarify, it was more about that big team event they're going to have in early September, and kind of wanting to slow drip out some of the visit stuff maybe after that. But again, if he's coming the weekend before that to Arkansas, I mean, you can't slow drip a visit that's already happened after the fact, right? So he thinks maybe the week of they'll put something out about that one. But that's interesting because, that maybe that means Arkansas gets the first visit. If you look at August is next month, we're already in late July. And if you look at the calendar, if you look at the recruiting calendar, I mentioned before, there's a lot of dead period stuff this time of year. There's a 16-day dead period, August 4th through the 20th. I believe that's correct. I believe it's those days. So you could resume having on-campus visitors after August 20th. And again, this will be that last weekend of August. So right after that. And it's not to say that Arkansas can't squeeze in some other unofficial visits in some of these open pockets where they could do something like that potentially. We mentioned class of 2028, Anthony Spratt Jr., who we've been talking about. He's trying to get on campus as soon as possible now that his Peach Jam's over, and Calipari's considering offering him sooner rather than later. A kid that's just going to be a sophomore next year at Benton, helped that team win a 5A state title this past season as a ninth grader. All right, so that's the Airfan Deanne intel. I'll give you a little more intel. I posted this on social media. Associate head coach Kenny Payne was courtside at the Made Hoops event today to watch Deanne get 30 points. I think it was 30 points and 12 rebounds, another double-double for him. Not playing anymore again. The Adidas had its championships last weekend. They had another event in California this weekend where assistant coach Chuck Martin is. But Deanne shifted over to Made Hoops just so they could be close to the action at the Nike EYBL there. It's North Augusta, South Carolina, Made Hoops event in Augusta, Georgia. Basically, I always say this, it's Little Rock, North Little Rock comparison. Basically the same city. You're just going across town to from one venue to the other. But look, Calipari attended. I think Deanne has 6 games total, including one more tomorrow. So he's played 5. Deanne's guardian told me that Calipari was courtside for 4 of those 5 games. And associate head coach and Arkansas's big man coach, Kenny Payne, has been with Calipari. And the lone game today, I guess that Calipari was unable to attend because he was at Nike EYBL and couldn't pull away. Payne was back courtside. So Arkansas's had a presence for every one of his games, and Calipari 4 out of 5 so far. We'll see about tomorrow. But again, a 30-point, 12-rebound performance according to his guardian today with Arkansas courtside. One more note, we mentioned Chuck Martin out at Adidas, 3SSB. Tay Kinney, we mentioned him, the 6'2" guard out of Kentucky, also plays at Overtime Elite. That a big official visit coming at the end of September. Big game for him today with Chuck Martin courtside, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, and 17U Wildcat selects win over Compton Magic, one of the premier programs on that Adidas circuit. Everybody knows about the Compton Magic and the great players that have come in through that program. Tay Kinney, again, we'll see. He's got a lot of visits set up. He's taken a few already, but a lot more coming up. As far as I know right now, Arkansas gets the last visit based on what's publicly announced that's scheduled for him. So we keep an eye on that. The other priority guys, until they're not, are guys like Tyron Stokes, Jordan Smith Jr., Brandon McCoy Jr., and obviously players you're setting visits with are or have already visited, continue to be. And then Abdou Toure, also on the Adidas circuit. We talked a lot about him the last couple of segments. Another guy that's been a priority. All right, 31 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I had to do a Saturday Night Live. I had to do it. I just had to. I couldn't wait till tomorrow to talk about J.J. Andrews, because we're going to come back on live and delve more into recruiting as the final July and the final spring and summer live eval session wraps up tomorrow. Hopefully we're talking about J.J. Andrews as a champion, and then go through some other stuff. I'll probably give, sort of like some kind of ratings or measuring stick for where I think Arkansas stands with some of these players we keep talking about. I'll probably give it some kind of a, likelihood or not so likely in terms of Arkansas's chances to land some of these players. Because at the end of the day, Calipari says he's not taking more than 4, right? So, we're going to, with J.J. Andrews off the board already, that would only be 3 more. We'll talk about, is there a pathway to expand it to 5 based on the level of some of these guys and some of these players? Or are they going to really just try to stick to 3 or 4? And I think with JJ on board, and as far along as they are with some of these guys, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up with a 4-player class this time, whereas the previous 2 classes have really been 3 and 3. This one might just end up at 4. All right. Once again, thanks for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I'll probably see you sometime tomorrow. Back on here again. J.J. Andrews playing for yet another Nike Peach Jam Championship. Thanks for being here. Please hit subscribe, like, and share. I was Kevin McPherson. This was HogvilleNET YouTube Live. Take care of yourselves. Appreciate all of you. See you soon.